All the pretty girls stand up. All the pretty boys stand up.
Pretty boys in the building.
Sway. This right here is my sway. Sway. All the girls are on me. Damn. Everybody pay attention. This right here is my pretty boy sway. 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 Girls on my rank. When I'm pretty sway. Girl, screw my name. When I'm pretty sway. Pretty boy sway. Pretty boy sway. 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 Girl, on my rank. When I'm pretty boy sway. Girl, screw my name. When I'm pretty boy sway.
Soldier.
Get out the way. Pretty boy coming through.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with Swaggle Haas. Hope you guys are having a wonderful New Year's Eve. This is a very, very special stream we have to round out the year. Last day of 2023. Can you guys believe it? Well, I thought that this would be a good idea to have what I'm calling a collector call-in live stream. The theory is that this is a good idea. This could be actually the worst idea I have ever had in my 3 years of having this YouTube channel. Yes, I say that to emphasize that I have spent 3 years making this YouTube channel the thing that it is. And I'm going to invite some of you guys over to come over for New Year's Eve to hang out, talk some shop. And I hope that the people that come on are respectful and have good things to say, because I'd like to keep my channel going on into 2024. And I want to make sure that we don't have anything too crazy or unexpected happen to prevent that from being the case. So I hope you guys enjoyed this stream. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have the StreamYard link in the description, and I'm just going to leave it there. And anyone is welcome to come on. I think the way that this will go is, if you guys are familiar with sports radio, I myself watch a lot of sports YouTube, outside of the comic book stuff. So sports YouTube does this stuff all the time. They have the call-in shows, people hop on, they talk about whatever team they want to talk about. And I thought that it would be interesting for us to do that here today as well. So, link is in the description. If you got something you want to talk about, CGC, you want to talk about the books that you picked up, over the course of, the 2023 year, you want to talk about predictions for 2024, you want to talk, current Marvel publishing, MCU, whatever you want to talk about, we can have that conversation here, today. All right. I see we got a couple people hopping in the back stage. Now, a couple little rules, couple little caveats I'd like to throw out. I would want, or not that I would want. Here's my rule, house rule. You got to be on camera. If you want to hop on this, you got to be on camera so that we can see your face, so that, if you say anything crazy, we're going to see who it is. And then and number two, no shoes, no shirt, no shoes, no shirt, no service, right? I mean, those are the rules, right? Like, if you're going to be on camera, I don't know, do your hair a little bit, just don't, we don't want anything that's going to get everything taken down. So those are my rules. Hopefully you guys can follow them, and hopefully this is going to be an interesting stream. Hopefully this will be fun for you guys to see. I mean, the goal here is that we got a lot of stories going on in the comic book world, and I thought it would be important to have, other voices out there, hop on the stream and share their opinions with things going on. All right. I want to give a shout out, Bronzville. I see you in the backstage. I'm going to bring you on in a second. You'll be our first one up here. But before I get you on, let me just quickly say hello to everyone in the chat, just to, do a little bit of housekeeping. We got GT Key Comic. What's going on, man? We got Ryan Stafford in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. We got Automatic Comics in the chat. We got Derek Neiman in the chat. Good to see you, Derek. Socially awkward people on video. Let's go. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? What's the worst that could happen? I mean, I'm socially awkward and I'm on camera right now. So, we'll see how it goes. Comic New Year, whoop, whoop. Kevin Mason, what's going on? You always miss the live show. Have to do the rewatch. Okay, well, you can do the rewind. I mean, that's what this video will be here for, to see if there's anything good. We got Jose Gutierrez in the chat. Shout out to Jose Gutierrez, channel member. I really, really appreciate that, Jose. Thank you for joining us. We got Derek Neiman here saying that Automatic should buy the Archie #1. Pearson here. Good evening. What's going on? You got Neo Cards and Comics in the house. What's going on, Neo? Good to see you. We got 99 Newsstand driving, listening. Bring on the callers. All right. Let's do a little bit of a little more housekeeping before we get our first caller on. It is New Year's Eve, guys. I hope you guys are going to have a lot of fun. After the stream, I'm going to go out myself. But let's make sure that we're not drinking and driving out there. Okay. We're going to collect responsibly. We're going to New Year's responsibly as well. West Coast Avengers, time is flat circle. Time is a flat circle. That went over my head. All right. I think we're saying hi to everybody here. We got Mighty Comics in the house. We got a bunch of people. Again, link is in the description, guys. You want to hop on the stream, we'll go in order. Got anything to say, we'll just go through and we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to bring on our first guest here. Bronzville, you get ready to go here, sir? All right. We got Bronzville Comics in the house. Good to see you, man. Thanks
Hey there, Mickey. Long-time watcher, first-time caller.
Yeah. Well, we got to meet at Terrificon. Of course, I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys know in the chat, but Bronzville's got a wonderful YouTube channel, so go give him a sub. But thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, I'm just putting some Silver Age bags and boards together, but trying to organize my basement here. Anything happened lately in the comic collecting community?
If there was anything interesting to talk about, it certainly went past me. So I don't know, but in the spirit of the call-in show, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's not a newsstand. Yeah, it's a direct. So
you're safe. You're safe on those ones.
Yeah.
But what do you think, Bronze? What do you got? You got anything?
I don't know. It seems amongst people who are vocal in the community, I may be in the minority opinion, where the scam. Obviously, it's terrible, especially for the high-grade, high-value books that this guy was subbing out, qualified Hulk 181s getting blue labels and lower-grade Mark Jewelers selling for over $10,000. But I think that's just such a small percentage of slabs. There are folks that are saying, every slab is called into question. CGC has to relook at every book they've ever graded. I mean, I just can't see the scam being that, or scams being that extensive. There are always going to be scams, but it's kind of like how much. I have most of the CGC slabs I graded myself. I submitted myself, and even the ones that I bought, I'm pretty confident that none of my slabs have. There are books that might have been overgraded, and certainly books that were undergraded, but I'm pretty confident in all the slabs I have being legit.
Yeah. I do agree with you. I do think that there's obviously a lot of hoopla to it. And I think that the videos that were put out showing how to maybe do it might have been the really blowing it up to full panic mode.
Right.
Did you see those videos? What did you think of that?
The Immaculate
yeah.
Comics. Yeah, it's he's really good at what he does.
Yeah.
Obviously has a degree of expertise most people don't possess. Will there be people that will try to copy that? Probably. But for most sellers, why would you stake your reputation on this?
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing is I know I'm more of a collector, but I sell graded books. I try to get raw books and try to get 9/8 out of 80s books, 90s books, but or stuff that I find for cheap. But mostly I collect, but if somebody buys something for me, I do have a face that they can see. I have this reputation to uphold. It's the people that are fly by night.
You have a public brand that you would have to protect, essentially.
Yeah.
Do you think?
And it goes beyond just comic book collecting. My own, personal life. You don't want to be mixed up in something like this. And what's interesting about this is I thought that what would cause CGC to move forward is if this hit mainstream media, if it was more than just like comic book YouTubers, that somebody, and maybe if CGC's investigation ends up in criminal action or a lawsuit, then maybe that's when the a news outlet will hook onto it.
Yeah. Wait, I want to sit with that for a second, because this was a little bit of like a pet peeve of mine. I'm not specifically connected to the like CBRs of the world or the Bleeding Cools and like those types of comic news media places. I mean, shout out to 99. He was in the chat. He had one article, I think, on comicbook.com that came out. But isn't it weird that comic book media like doesn't cover this? Like, isn't this like something that you would think would be a big story in that space?
Yeah, it's sort of like when you have, every once in a while, you'll see like a local news program that'll report on somebody that broke into a store and stole some valuable comic books, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been pretty much the people that we all know as part of this, YouTube IG community that have been reporting on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so strange. Like, I think even Bleeding Cool on their site, like certainly they lead with, new comic book stuff or new stories and things that are going to go out. But I know that they have a tab on their section or on their site that's like vintage, and it'll be whenever ASM #1 sells for $1 million, it'll be like an article about that. And that
or John Romita passes away.
Yeah. Yeah. But you would think that they would have commented on this. I don't know. Seems like it was a big story, but they decided not to cover it.
Yeah, boy, Epic Nation must be so happy about this.
Yes, that's a whole other thing for sure. Well, Bronze, I'm keeping you on because we actually had one person, and then they dipped out, it looks like. So, you're the only other person. I mean, we can just continue to talk shop. I mean, if there was a line of people, I would wish you a happy new year. But if you're open to hanging out until we get the next person.
Yeah, I did call in radio in college for sports, and it was you'd have the one guy that would be on be the first caller every week.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you that the unpack the overreaction thing, because I do think that on the one hand, it is a bit of an overreaction in the sense of like everyone is losing their mind saying like you can't trust anything. In my personal opinion, obviously it is a big deal, and it's plausible that you can't trust anything, even though it's very unlikely that you can't trust it. That's my stance, where it's like, clearly, I think that this opens up the path to CGC and even CBCS to an extent. They probably have to release a new case at some point next year. Do you agree with that? Do you expect that would be something that they would have to do?
Yeah, and well, obviously that requires the R&D and the invest. They probably have how many slabs sitting around their warehouse right now, ready to have books thrown into them. And I'm not an engineer, but I would imagine like if you put posts kind of on the sides and in the middle, then there's no way to get the book out.
Yeah.
Without causing damage to the case. So I also said maybe laser etching the cert number on the inner well. That might be a little more expensive, especially in terms of manpower for them. Rather than once you design a new case, you have the new case, and if it clips in the middle of the sides and the bottom, then you really can't get the book out.
Yeah, I would expect that this, whatever their solution is, this is probably something that has to get put up earlier on the development side of things. Like, they'll probably need to, if not fully come out with a new case, at least need to push up their announcement of like, hey guys, in the wake of this, we're happy to share our future case that we're in development for, but it's going to come out in 2025 or whatever their actual timeline is for it. I'm sure they probably would be best served to at least share that now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes sense, and they, I'm sure that the last week or so, they've been in constant discussions of what they have to do internally to restore customer confidence. That being said, I'm sure there's still thousands of books coming in to their warehouse every day.
Oh yeah. I mean, let me ask this, because again, we're still waiting on other people to join. If anyone out there wants to hop in, link is in the description. Do you think that the wider comic book market even really knows. Like we talked about, none of the mainstream media covered this. Only people in our sort of circles have talked about it. Like, how much would you guess, like percentage wise, of the 100% of people that do graded books, like how much do you think actually know about this?
It's probably a small percent. I mean, what the folks that are reporting on this have maybe like 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Right.
I don't know if the books are getting much more views than that. I don't know how many comic book collectors there are around the country and how many of those collect slab books. And I've noticed on my videos, you get a lot of comments by the never slabbers.
Oh yeah.
People think that it's ruining the hobby and that sort of thing. And I understand that perspective. I don't slab a lot of my books. The stuff that I put in, a lot of the segments of my personal collection is staying raw, at least for now, because I actually read comic books when I can.
Right.
And there is something, to a vintage comic book in enjoying it. But there's also the idea that I know as a collector, I'm not going to read this book again, and I just have tens of thousands of comic books. There's just not enough time in the rest of my life to read all of them.
Yeah. And I do think that there is there's a certain dollar range where when you get to, comics that it probably behooves you to have them graded in some way. I mean, especially, we talk about, I'm going to butcher a shout out to Como. He always talks about what does he say? He says like your bus plan or something. Essentially it's, what happens if you get hit by a bus, and the person, hopefully that never happens to anyone out there, but if the person in your life inherits your comics, I mean, you want to at least set them up with some sense of, oh, here are some valuable ones that I should probably know that are valuable, so that if I bring it to a comic book store, I'm going to get some sort of fair market value. So I think on those levels, there's probably, the world without third-party grading probably isn't all that much better than whatever the never slabbers feel like it is.
Yeah, right. And the reason that it exists is because if you buy a raw book, let's say a Silver Age Key, an Amazing Spider-Man 1, how do you know, especially if you buy it online, that it isn't restored in some way?
Yeah, you don't.
I mean, you can look at it. I mean, I had bought Hero for Hire #1, and I had bought it from Streetside Anthony. He'd gotten it elsewhere. He's a guy I trust. I bought books from him all the time, a great member of the community. He had it in his possession. I gave it to Erod to clean and press. So all three of us looked at it, and none of us picked up the fact that CGC did that there was color touch.
Right.
They're part of their business model. And they don't always get it right. I mean, there's no perfect system for the untrained eye. If you buy an ASM1, how many ASM1s have you seen in your life? Whereas I'm sure the grading team that grades that book sees that book every week. And they're like, wait a minute, there's something wrong with the cut of this book. Let's take a closer look.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the idealized version of what, third-party grading should be. I mean, like even with everything going on, if I'm going to buy online, I mean, everyone in the chat, I think, could agree. It's like, do you, generally speaking, even though you can't 100% blindly trust slabs anymore, do you, generally speaking, trust a CGC graded book versus Joe Schmo's comics, that is selling a raw comic book, in a random comic show that you never bought from? I mean, like that calls his book a near mint. Like, I mean, I feel like it's hard either way. It's hard either way.
And it's a third-party system, which, listen, it's flawed, yes. But if you have a book that gets a 6.5 from CGC, that is, CGC didn't have any investment on whether that book's at a 5.5, a 7.5, a 6.5. Somebody looked at it, somebody decided it was a 6.5. You might disagree with it, but somebody decided. Whereas if I go to a show and somebody's selling me a book as a raw 6.5, some people are tougher graders, some people are looser graders, and some people look at their own books with rose-colored glasses and go, I mean, we see it on eBay all the time. Near mint. It's like, wait, all those creases kind of disqualify it from being near mint.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's not, like you said, perfectly said. It's not a perfect system, but it's the best version of the system that we have right now.
It's like Churchill's quote about democracy.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
It's better than everything else. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's a necessary evil, so to speak. And there are all sorts of segments to the collecting community. There are people that only like raw books and people that only, whatever specificity they like. When I pick up a book in a collection, I like it to be a nice looking book. Obviously the more difficult is, the higher key it is. But if I'm picking up a book from 1972, I like to be like at least like an 8.5, at least present well, so that I'm not going to get it graded, because even, like a 9.0 is, a $40 book in a run filler. But if I just, it gives me as a collector a little more satisfaction when the book looks nicer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Shout out to Stephen Capehart, new YouTube channel member. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you, Stephen. And speaking of new channel members, New Legacy Comics, CGC is still more trusted than Joe Schmo online. Yeah, especially online. Especially online. I think even my own personal thing. Clearly, I have graded books, but I still personally like to buy raw comics, because if I can find them in the wild and I can find them raw, like I'd rather do that and kind of maybe flip through it and enjoy it a little bit. And then if it's of a value range that I want to protect that value, and so that if someone has to pick it up, after I get hit by a bus, then that value will be at least somewhat protected in the third-party grade slab. So that's kind of where I am with it. But, it's an interesting thing. And I think, we'll have to see what CGC does in 2024. I'm sure that there's going to be lots of news updates and things like that. But Bronze, let me ask this. I'm taking all your time because we're still waiting for other people to hop in this call-in show, guys. The call-in show only works if people call in. But what do you think for 2024? You got anything going on with you? Like any books you're going after in particular? You got any bold predictions for comics in 2024? What do you think?
I'm kind of trying to work on a list of books that I'm going after. I'm more of a DC guy, so the books that I'd love to get, like if I had the funds, are like a Showcase 4, Batman 121, a nice House of Secrets 92. But I'm actually it's kind of what we have to remember is the speculation is going to really be down this year because of the strikes. There's very little product coming out. We do have Deadpool 3, which I think is going to be very interesting. And we look at the way that MCU ties things together. If you saw the last episode of What If, there was like the final shot, not to be giving away any spoilers, but I was like, wow, that was awesome. Right.
Yeah.
And I think Deadpool 3, potentially, whether or not Taylor Swift plays Dazzler or Lady Deadpool or, Aunt May, I don't know. It's going to be, a lot of the history of the movies coming in, and probably it's giving Marvel the time to reset what they want to do going forward. Also with the Jonathan Majors situation, right. They're kind of hitting the reset button, which is what DC's had the opportunity to do. Aquaman just came out, and now kind of the DCEU ended with a whimper and a cheeseburger, and we still have more than a year and a half until Superman Legacy comes out.
Right. Yeah, it could be a down year, although it could be one of those idle hands is the devil's play type of thing, right? When you actually don't have movies, people start to really spin the wheels.
Like, when are we getting Silver Surfer? When are we getting Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
And I think the summer is going to be an interesting time, because I think maybe San Diego, maybe their Disney's own event, I think we're going to get a slate of announcements, at least from Marvel, and with a lot of hoopla. Yeah. And James Gunn obviously has a lot of things in plan for DC. If he said he only announced half the projects, and we still don't know many details about most of those projects, and almost no casting. So there's still a lot of stuff to come from that. So I think I'm going to have to run because my wife just came home. So
absolutely. Well, thank you, Bronze, for coming in, stopping by. I see you, Metal Face, there in the backstage. I'll pull you on next. If you guys don't know, Bronzville Comics YouTube channel, go check them out. Give them a sub.
Thank you.
Watch his videos in 2024. Well, Jim, Happy New Year to you. And
Happy New Year, Mickey.
We'll catch you next year.
Okay, take care.
Bye. All right. That was our first caller of the Collector Call-In show. I see our next caller here. If you guys, just again, throwing it out. If you got something you want to say, you want to hop on, link is in the description. You want to talk about whatever, comment on what we, Bronzville and I were talking about. Link is there for you. All right. I'm bringing on Metal Face. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you. Good to meet you.
Yeah, well, I've been checking your channel, I think, since the beginning of the when back in the pandemic days.
Right.
We were all locked down, and that is oddly enough when I got back into collecting. I was collecting action figures and that sort of thing. I had to sell my collection when my firstborn was, with us. So I let go of some pretty amazing books that I've since, gotten back. Right. One of those was Hulk 181 out of 8.5. Back in those days, that book, I think I spent $1,500 on it.
Oh, wow.
And I sold that entire collection for, I think, like $4,500. And it was heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
And,
but
in those days when I was collecting books, and it's going to lead to my tonic, I swear that this does have a point. Back in those days, I collected, and I was pretty much on my own collecting. I was not like checking out channels or forums or any of that sort of thing. So nowadays, I do check out channels like your channel, 9.9's, Dave's. Oh, say hi. Just to give you an idea of how big of a fan I am. My youngest's name is Logan. And my oldest is Bruce.
I love it. I love it.
So they participate in the collecting. So anyways, now when I'm collecting, I check out the YouTube channels. I check out your channel, Mint Hunters, Dave from Collecting, all the channels that are out there. And I really do appreciate what you guys put out there as far as like the data points. That's what I go by when I buy books, when I collect. I don't do the spec buying. I don't know if I'm part of the minority that doesn't do that, but I don't do that. I just collect what I love.
Right.
So again, when I joined the community, I started to get to know other collectors and joining forums and pages with fans. And that kind of showed me a world that I didn't know existed as far as how negative people could be. Gatekeeping. So that's what I wanted to talk about, gatekeeping.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that existed because I was a lone collector. And I went out and I, tried to get to know other collectors, see what they were, collecting, and just to see if I can make friends, that sort of thing.
Right.
But I have to say, it's hard. It's a lot easier to do it like this with you through vicariously through the channels, because if you join actual groups, there's a lot of there's a lot of bad people, if that makes sense. They're very negative. Just the gatekeeping mentality is terrible. Like, you go on any one of these Facebook channels or pages to ask a simple question about a variant or look, this is the book I bought at a convention. I'm excited to have it. You'll have like 15 different members come down on you and offer their critique. And I'm being nice when I say that they're offering their critique. I just didn't know that existed. I thought everybody had some sort of like, camaraderie. Everybody just was cool with each other, but no, it's pretty bad. It's like it gets down to the nitty gritty as far as like who you grade with, if you're a CBCS person or a CGC, or if you even grade or you're strictly raw. It's pretty bad. And there was a point where I was like, do I even want to keep collecting? Because that's how bad it is. At least for me, it did put me off. But then I just realized why I got into the hobby. It's because I love it. But I try to ignore it. But when I check out your channel, Mint Hunters, Dave from Collecting Investments, the big ones, I read the comments, and some people are extremely negative. You know, when for me, you know, I just don't appreciate that, and exactly, that's why, you know, I'm thinking the only reason why I'm still on some of these groups is because every now and then you'll find a good deal and you'll get a good book.
Right.
So I guess the point is, it's just there's just a lot of noise. There's just a lot of noise. You know, I bought a Jim Lee. What was it? A Jim Lee cover. A Wolverine. I guess it's Wolverine's first battle with Punisher. And I was pretty excited about getting a 9/8 white pages. And I posted it, and then some guy like completely came down on me. And I think that was one of the first interactions. I was like, whoa, that was weird. So then I got heavier into the channels, and then you know, the algorithm on YouTube feeds you the same topics that you're looking at. And I came across this one guy's channel, and I'm not going to name him, but I think his theme that he's I guess latching onto is criticizing you know, your channel, all the other channels that are out there, the ones that I follow, and that's kind of like the embodiment of what I've seen in these groups, and it's pretty bad. I just wanted to see what your take was, because you're in the center of it, right? Because you get all this. I mean, you get the negative comments. You know, I can't imagine what it's like for you as I guess, a YouTuber. So this guy kind of perpetuates that, and I kind of had to, like, you know, remove myself from his from being subscribed to his channels, because he did have some interesting content where, like, he would showcase other people's collections, his collection, but then he kind of just got really like in the theme of being a contrarian for anything that you would say or any of the other channels, and it's just I don't know, like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I think YouTube is an interesting place, because I said it before, like, negativity bias is like a big thing on YouTube, and like farming drama and all that stuff is like probably the best way to grow your YouTube channel. I always say, like, I make joke. I mean, shout out to Automatic. We make jokes to each other in the chat, like, you know, and I do it a little facetiously when I talk about like comic values and things, but we literally make jokes like, oh, if a comic has gone down in value, or like I bought something that I lost money on, and then I have the thumbnail, my face is like this, like, it's going to be like 5 times more views than if it's like, hey guys, I found my Grail book. Like, it's always the case, because people like looking at that car crash. So for what you're talking about, I think there are people out there that have channels that, they're like, oh, this is my ticket in to like validate whatever these feelings are, or to chase this, and, you know, they can be successful doing this. And I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, people can do whatever they want, you know, and I try to make videos that I think are going to bring like the best value to people. I mean, at the end of the day, it's my comic book blog. So I just try to offer a perspective of like, hey, I bought this book, but really what's interesting to you guys is going to be such and such and such. And that's how I try to frame my videos so that I can give value. So, you know, my thing is like, I don't pay attention to that stuff, or I try not to really pay attention to it. Anytime it happens, like, obviously people send me clips and things like that. But yeah, I just tune it out, you know, just eye on the prize and move forward. And yeah, there's tons of gatekeepers in this hobby, and it's unfortunate because it definitely prevents people from enjoying like the hobby. And I've seen it a lot at shows or things like this, where you see a lot of younger people. Comics is like so hard to break into, right? It is so difficult. You know, where do you start? Where do I begin? What's a cool comic to collect? I want to know, and I don't know anything. And I think there's a lot of dealers who are great, but there's also a lot of dealers who, they don't think about like how, you know, shaking hands and kissing babies is like a big deal of like how you get the next generation involved, and like showing them and teaching them, and not trying to like tell them the comic that they're collecting is stupid or bad or whatever it is. So I don't know how you get around that, you know. other than I had a little rant talking about how I wish Marvel and DC did more like community pieces and things like this. Cause I think if they did a top down thing of like, hey, we love and respect our fans, like that could be like that could seep into the culture more. So yeah, I don't know. Those are my kind of like 2 cents on it and everything like that.
Yeah, well, sticking to the topic of your channel and the content that you post, I think in the background you can see a couple of, I think the Marvel's Superheroes Presents 20.
Oh yeah.
That book I actually ended up buying because you spoke about it. This was, I think, last year. It's in your archive. I'm sure you'll find it. So I do find your data points and what you showcase to be extremely useful. There are other channels that I still watch because they're interesting, and they're strictly speculation channels on modern stuff. And I love that you don't cover so much of that. It's like mainly Silver Age, Bronze, and Copper, and that's my jam.
Yeah.
The Golden Age, not so much because it's slightly out of the budget
price range. Yeah, I feel you on that.
A lot of the books that I ended up buying back, or that I didn't have when I did have a collection back in the day, I would look at the wall back there that you have, and I started picking them off. So I do find use for checking your channel out. It's helped out immensely. And then taking that type of content that you put out with the other channels that I subscribe to, like it's showed me how to like grade myself, and find the books that I want, and that leads to like the saying that you and a couple of other content creators say, buy the book, not the grade.
Yeah.
I like to follow that, but that the thought of having a 9.8, especially with a newsstand, for me, that's the way I collect. I like newsstands, so I've chased ASM 252 9.8 newsstand. So yeah, your content's helpful for all entry points as far as collectors go. Like if you're a beginner, it'll show you the differences between what a direct and a newsstand is, and when you should collect a newsstand versus not. So I would like to see you just stick to that as far as like a member, because it's
For sure.
It's extremely helpful. And then also I have to admit, it took me a while to like follow and get on board with the indexes. I think it took a good month for me to understand that. I'm like, what is he talking about? But then what I do for a living is I rely a lot on data. So then it just clicked. I'm like, oh wait, he's doing this. So then it clicked right away. Like it's applicable to like what I do for a living. So
right.
Like, thanks for that.
For sure. Well, I do, I try to make that, a lot of people are like, think that I make it to make stock trading things, but I really just do it because it's like, hey guys, here's some info, and you guys can kind of decide what that, how you want to take it. But Metal, I got a couple people in the back, so I'm going to let a couple other people hop on, but thanks for hopping on, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year too. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon. All right. Naobi, I see you in the back, but I think you got to have your camera on. So I also see still only 35C. So I think I'm going to bring up still first. And Naobi, when you have your camera on, I'll bring you on as well. But still, I'm going to bring you on now here.
Hello,
Still.
how are you?
What's going on? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Happy New Year. It's actually New Year's Day here.
Oh, it is. Happy New Year to you. Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
sound like you're where are you? Australia here?
I'm in Australia, yeah. So we,
wow.
yeah, what was it? What time is it now? Yeah, almost 12 hours ago.
Where are you in Australia? You
Melbourne.
Where is it?
Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne?
Moved
Okay.
slightly, so I'm in shot.
Now, my understanding of Melbourne is that, because I've only been to Sydney, so Sydney to me is like the LA, San Diego type of thing, and then Melbourne's more artsy New York. Is that?
I would concur. Yeah,
Okay.
it's very similar to that. Yeah, I think you're right. Sydney's probably a bit more LA, so
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing. No, I love Australia, but what's been on your mind? What's going on from Australia? What were you thinking about?
So I'm just finalizing all my 2023 stuff. I've just been doing an advent calendar for the last month. I've ut to finish that today. I'm a bit behind, so I'm one day over. And then just thinking about what's happening next year. I'm seeing what I'm going to be collecting and trying to find. It's an interesting year. I actually went and bought a part of a collection yesterday as well, which was nice. We don't get many of those over here. One person on Grail Hunters, which is a group that's over here based in Australia, was selling his books. Essentially, he wants to buy a house, so he's liquidating. So I bought a few from him. So pretty good. I'll give you an example. Like he had a
nice
Daredevil #6. Not too bad.
First appearance of Mr. Fear, I think, right?
Fellowship of Fear, yeah, Mr. Fear. Yeah, let's just get it.
Look at that.
There you go. And it's, fine. So
yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. Just trying to sort of consolidate. You might say there's a few books behind. I know you've got a lot of great books. So
yeah, you got some nice stuff over there. Hulk 1, X-Men 1s. It seems like they're high grade too, or high mid-ish grade.
High-ish.
Yeah.
So I'm they're all UK price variants as well. So that's part of my
cool
my bag. So I try to collect those as much as possible. But yeah, I've been watching the videos for a long time. So it's good to finally catch up and say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's that? Go ahead.
I was going to say, and congrats on the whole CGC stuff. Like, I think that's been good in terms of exposure and also just getting people to know what was going on. So
yeah, it's a big story. I mean, I just put a microphone up to it. I mean, I know 99 Newstand's in the chat. Automatic was in the chat. Neo and West Coast Day Avengers and everybody, did the work and found the details. I just, gave it a little bit of a signal boost and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it's good. I'm glad that, they responded to it and reacted to it. And it's just been it's just such an interesting story.
Yeah. I was listening to West Coast Avengers live stream yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And I get the sentiment, but I don't think, like, there's a lot of talk about, is CGC to be trusted going forward? I'm like, I completely still see that. I think they just got, my eye take of it is that they got taken advantage of.
Sure.
In this instance. And it's like, it's at least they're working through it. I'm just astounded at how many books are affected in total. I think that's the thing that's scary. It scares the most. Some of us are lucky we submit our own books, and so therefore our providence is pretty secure. But I think, those that have been buying those books out there, you're going to have to check every single one of those against the list that CGC eventually put out.
Yeah, 100%. What's your feeling on, I guess, the overall reaction to slab books and stuff? I mean, you got some stuff behind you. Like, does it worry you? Like, I better check all my books, or are you sort of like, I mean, we'll kind of see how it goes, and for the most part, you can assume it's an isolated incident. But what's your thoughts on it?
I think if you collect, it depends on how you collect and what you collect. As I say, if you're grading your own books, no problems at all, right? I mean, the only issue there is that, you might not get the grades you want, right? And we all know that challenge, right?
Yeah, that's every grade I've ever gotten. It's not the grade I want.
I love those ones where you get a 9.6, it's a 9.8.
Yeah, come on. Yeah. I need the what was it? The gift grade is what they call it now,
Yeah. And then the other one is I tend to do a lot of signature series stuff as well. And so again, you don't really hit that problem because you're either admitting. And again, I just, whenever I'm buying books, I tend to sort of try and buy them from anywhere that I know is a reputable. So like you go through Heritage or something like that, I don't think you're going to necessarily hit this problem. I mean, again, it'd be interesting to see if any books slip through there. But yeah, I think generally, as long as you know who the seller is and you trust them, then I don't think it's necessarily like it's still a. I've got a huge collection of slabs, and
Right.
but again, they're all probably select. I've put them up there, and they're not books that no one's gonna go and tamper with, shall we say?
Right. So do you think at this point that CGC is in a position where they probably have to make a new case, though? Would you guess that they're in a position where they have to do that?
I think they might not need to make a new case. They just might need. I think the thing here is the label, right?
Right.
And I think CBCS do their labels attached to the slab in a well, right?
Yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe someone in the chat can, but yeah, I think you can't separate the inner well from the label or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue here, right? Again, if you can get those two, and you can then tell they're tampered with, right? Because the book and the label are intrinsically sealed together.
Right.
But I do think, I think they'll do stuff to the inner well more than they'll do stuff to the actual case. But again, I'm not CGC, but I think that's probably where it makes more sense, where you marry those two together. You're still able to get the books out if you need to crack for clean and press or whatever you want to do. But actually, because they know when it comes back in that it's it's not they've not somehow managed to slip that book in with another label.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what do you got? I mean, now you're living in the future. It's 2024. Well, any last final thoughts going into the new year? You got any predictions or goals that you're going after?
I'm still looking for a Miracle Man Gold Edition.
Okay.
Raw. That's somehow eluded me at the moment. And then I've really got into. I'm trying to stay away from Golden Age because I just know how much of a hole that's going to be. I see your videos on that.
You're going to be trading that Hulk one and X-Men one for stuff on Automatic's channel.
I think that's the thing that I'm going to probably try and do this year is trade a lot more. I've got a whole stack of overcopies. I've even got a 5.0 Hulk one that I'm sitting on, and I just don't know. Like right now, I haven't a plan to do what to do with it. And so I think that's the thing. It's consolidation of the overcopy stuff, and then just what I'm doing at the moment is trying to build up the collection slowly and get better copies over time, which I think everyone does, right? But yeah, that's the plan for 2024. What I'm looking forward to. I think this year as well has been interesting. I don't know if you know, but I've not been on YouTube that long, probably 2 months. So it's been an interesting 2 months getting to know the various personalities, doing the shows, and you'll know better than anyone, right? Like it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah. YouTube's a weird world, but it's a lot of fun. And I think what Metal was saying in the last call, he was like, I think in this hobby, the community aspect is really important, or like you want it, right? Because it's like nobody in my real life do I talk about comics with. Like it's all on camera, social media people. So maybe the YouTube space and Instagram kind of fill that void. So it's good. It's good that you're in it now.
I find it. As I say, it was a bit of I was waiting as well. Like where you sort of look at it and you're just watching everybody else trying to take tips in terms of how to do it. And I think, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So it was one of those ones where I wanted it to be right before I made the leap.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because I was on a stream yesterday with one of the team out of here in Australia as well. And it's funny the amount of people I already knew. Right. But I didn't know, we'd met at say cons or something like that. And I think you're right. It's that whole community feel that you get in terms of you suddenly go, oh, I know you were here and we did this and this was really cool and this is the book that we got out of that. And so it's nice that it's quite serendipitous that you walk into this environment, but then suddenly you actually know people already. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully we'll see you more on next year in 2024. Yep. Go give still only 35 cents a follow, guys. And thanks for hopping on. We'll talk to you in the future.
Thanks for doing it. It's great. See you soon.
Yeah. See ya. All right. That was a great call. I got a few more here. I got Neo coming up, West Coast Dave, and Steve, Comics with Bonics, Naobi. I got you as well, but yeah, you're going to have to get a camera on. You're gonna have to get a camera on. We're gonna have to see your beautiful face, like Rob's beautiful face.
Oh, we're on zoomed in view, huh?
Yeah, we're going the zoomed in view. I mean, we can go to this view.
Oh, there we go. That's better.
All right, Rob gets special treatment, even though I think that this view is better. But we're gonna go to this view just for Rob.
Well, now we get the sanity branding.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Buy, or sell. What's going on, Neo? What's going on with you?
No, I'm thinking about trying this YouTube thing out for a change. So I thought I'd call, first time caller, I've been watching you for a long time.
Yeah. I've been watching you as well. What's on your mind? I mean, we talked about CGC. I mean, we've had more videos come out of how to break it. I feel like everyone's lost their mind. I mean, was that after we had a stream? I think it was.
That after the live? That was after the live stream.
I think it was after.
Yeah, because otherwise we probably would have spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah, we would have. Yeah.
And then also we've had the one with them cracking CBCS cases open too.
Oh yeah.
It's just we're all screwed.
Yeah. What's your thought? Like just in general? I mean, or you got thoughts on that, or you have other stuff you wanted to?
I mean, I could give you like a quick. It sucks. Yeah, these companies will figure it out. I just watched Reserved Investments video. We need grading. We can all sit here and call it a scam as much as we want. We can all hate it. We can all complain when we don't get a favorable grade. We can complain when a book's overgraded, undergrading. But in the grand scheme of things, in an era where most transactions happen online, it's almost required to have a third party give an opinion.
Right.
We might not always agree with it, but we kind of have to have it in some shape or form.
Right. Do you think that I feel like the sports card world is like more okay with grading in general? Is that true?
Yes. You rarely, I don't want to say rarely see raw stuff transact, but the sports card world is definitely addicted to grading. I did a video on that not long ago.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. We are 100% addicted to grading. We want our things in plastic holders. Part of it is, a big part of it for me is because I'll grade a lot of PC stuff. The slab's not necessarily adding any value. I just like the way it looks, and I like the fact that it's protected.
Right.
Even if I'll send something in that's a PC card that I know. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example right here. I have a Spider-Gwen red PMG. These are very condition sensitive. This is a PSA 7. PSA 7. So the grade added zero value to this card, but I wanted it encapsulated because I didn't want to have to worry about it bouncing around on a top loader or a mag or whatever.
Right.
It just makes it more secure.
Right.
And we do have more options. I mean, like we talked about that to death, that you guys have a lack of competition in this space.
Oh yeah. That's the other problem too. Like you said, sports cards, PSA, SGC, SGC, right? Who are the other ones?
SGC.
Yeah,
NC.
SGC. Beckett is still kind of, although maybe Beckett has kind of fallen off. I don't know.
Beckett is niche, essentially. Beckett was peak in the 90s. That was when they were kind of like at the peak of their powers, 90s and early 2000s. And a lot of people still send their high-end 90s and early 2000s stuff to them.
Mm.
Like they have a very loyal group. They don't get the numbers, but they probably get higher dollar value on average. I would bet.
Right.
People like the subgrades because that's the one thing that Beckett has that nobody else has is they have the subgrades. So it's the closest thing we get to graders notes from the big four anyways. There's, some smaller companies that are trying to go the AI route and give like full reports and everything.
Oh my God. Imagine a world of comics where you can get like a 9.6.5, or something like that.
Yeah. There's an AI grading company called Tag that has, I think we talked about it. It's 1,000-point grading scale.
Oh my God.
Imagine an ASM 252 and yours is in a 957 grade and mine is in a 945 grade and trying to price that stuff.
Yeah. Mine's a 9.8, but it's a 98.999.
Yeah. And then I believe that they rank them on the pop report. So imagine that you have the entire CGC census of Hulk 181s.
Oh God.
And you can see where yours ranks on 1,000-point scale.
Yeah. That's like it's almost like I'm going to say a dirty word here. NFTs, like NFTs kind of have this where it's like mint number. So like, they actually make like a mint, like old school back in the day, you used to mint the thing. So they mint the NFTs. And so if you're like the number one minted NFT, people like they go for that more.
Yeah.
even though it's all the
Alpha.
same collection or whatever, right?
Yeah. So I do have this is completely side topic. I do have a legitimate question for you. So card shows, like if I go to a card show, a big part of the weekend after the show ends, everyone gathers around and there are just massive trade nights. Just massive. People everywhere with their cases out, cards out, everyone's swapping cards left and right. Why does that not happen at Comic Cons?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Like the importance of there are people that travel to shows that the trade night is more important than the show is. Like you'll get more done at the trade night, buying, selling, trading, than you will on the show floor. And in comics, it just seems like trading is rarely happens.
I wonder if that has to do with the fact that, so the National, as I understand it, it's like you're going there for sports cards, whereas San Diego Comic-Con, you're going there and it's, yeah, comics are there, but like we know what it is. Like it's become something else. Because like, so I went to this place called Collector Summit in Dallas this year, and Heritage Auctions kind of hosted it. And it was like a big dealer trade show thing. Shortbox kind of did a thing with it. And it was like trade night. It was what I imagined sports cards trade night to be, like collectors there, a lot of standing tables in the middle of the room. And so you could just bring all your own stuff and everybody was trading and swapping. But that was in my however many years going to shows, that was like the only show that kind of created and cultivated that atmosphere. And I think that was by design. So
yeah, and I see chat talking about the size of the slabs and all that compared to a card. And they're absolutely right. But still though, like, I mean, everyone's carrying around like backpacks and carts and this and that. Like you're buying books at a Comic-Con. It's not like you're not walking in there with 0 books or walking out of there with 0 books. Or
right.
Maybe you're taking them to your hotel room and you bring some down for a trade. Now you're not bringing your whole collection. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Let's say I own 50 CGC slabs. Maybe there's like 5 that I'd like to bring to a trade night to try to turn into something else. It just feels like a missed opportunity to me when I attend, like, to your point, like what about like Heroes Con or Shortbox Con? Like even not necessarily the big pomp and circumstance Comic Cons, the ones that are more kind of focused on, like I've never been to Shortbox, but I assume that is much more of a comic con than a pop con.
I think the shows need to cultivate it because I bet there are people that bring stuff to trade, but they're always just bringing it to trade with dealers. And it's not that they wouldn't trade with other collectors. I mean, I would, but it was like a Collector Summit. Again, it was like that. The only show I've been to where all the dealers were on the outside and then in the middle, it was all standing tables and like literally like open seating. You could just go up there, open up your Pelican case and whatever, and just have a bunch of slabs in it. So it was like, essentially people were set up as dealers as well, but they were really just there for trading.
So typically, like in a traditional trade night sense, usually they don't happen during show hours. It's always after at typically an offsite location, like usually a hotel lobby. Like if you go to the National, we'll use the National example again. If you go to the National again, if you walk in any one of like the 8 connected hotels to the convention center, every hotel lobby is people with cards out, taking up every space that they could possibly get their hands on.
Right.
To trade at.
Right.
So it's usually not, because there is like an aspect of doing it at the show that's a little frowned upon because it's like dealers paid for space. You're kind of freeloading, setting up on on a free space table. Typically it's all after hours. Sometimes collectors, like big, I'll use the evil word here, big sports card influencers will organize them. So like Card Collector 2 is a major, has a huge social following, owns a shop. He would organize a trade night. Or I've seen like other groups of YouTubers get together and say, hey, we're all meeting in the X, Y, or Z hotel lobby, or we'll rent out a ballroom and say, hey, we're all getting together at, they'll use it as a meet and greet, but it's also a trade night. It just seems like it's such a vital part on the card side, and the comic side, it just seems like a meh.
Yeah. I think it probably is something that needs to be explored. I mean, maybe, like you said, it takes a certain kind of figureheads to like actually sort of organize it in a way, or a comic shop or something like that. So could be something to do. But Neo, I got to get next up people here on him. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we get some trade shows going on next year. But until then, Happy New Year, buddy.
Everybody, Happy New Year.
All right. Great call. Neo Cards and Comics. Definitely got to get him on. Or got to go check him out, his channel. All right. I got West Coast Dave here. Naobi, I see you with the camera. I appreciate you. I'm going to get you after Dave. And then Steve, I got you as well. All right. Coming on West Coast Dave. He is.
Oh, hello there.
Caught him reading.
I wanted to
Wizard
show
Magazine.
this off. Thanks for having me on, Swag, and fun idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm glad you could hop on. You know, I was going to say, like, if I couldn't get non-collectors coming on, maybe I can get a couple people with other YouTube channels and stuff, and they can come on.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, West Coast The Avengers, integral in breaking this story, go check out his YouTube. I've linked it in other videos and stuff, but yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year's Eve. What's going on?
Happy New Year's Eve. I wanted to point this out because this is something that I don't know how many people know. Obviously, we all know what Wizard Magazine is, and go off on that, but I won't. They're integral on bringing CGC to the forefront. This is July 2000. So around the time that CGC started. First, you get this probably very
full screen.
Probably very well paid for full page ad that says CGC is the future of comic book collecting. But what Wizard actually did in this month, or maybe it was the month after, before this, it's the first ever CGC price guide. Wizard's Guide to Graded Books. So this is July 2000. I want to say CGC started maybe a couple months earlier.
So you're telling me that is the first appearance of a CGC.
This might be the first. It might be June 2000 might be the first appearance of CGC in Wizard, but
everybody's going to eBay right now.
Well, what it is to say, and look, I'm not one of the people that Metal Face was talking about that just goes on YouTube and bashes other people, but I am hypercritical about the influencer space.
Sure,
and it's because a lot of people that are, we're probably around the same age, and there's people that are older than us or around the same age that during the 90s, we were listening to Wizard Magazine, and we were doing what they said based off their top 10 list and who's this and what's this. It killed the comic book industry. I mean, it is the beginning of the blow to the head that killed the comic book industry in the 90s. And so I am hypercritical about influencers in our space, and it's not in a gatekeeper way. It's just in a way, look at where we were in 1994, 95, 96, 97, 98, leading into 99 and 2000. It's similar to what is going on now, and
a lot of hype, a lot of speculation, for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of things being said, like, this is limited and shiny foil goodness, like, and this shiny foil goodness is what killed it. It is. I mean, how many times did you walk into a comic book store when you were 12 or 13 and hologram, I'm buying it, and foil, and then $30 and you're done, and you have a stack of stuff that's not worth anything today.
Yeah. It's so interesting because it's such like a fine line between, like, when it becomes like, in the worst version, like a pump and dump, and then in like the most idealized version, like, hey, like, everyone likes a good old foil every now and again, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with putting a foil on a cover, right? But it is such an interesting thing, especially in the comic book space. And maybe somebody else said in the chat when we were talking about something previous about just grading in general, is like, comics are unique in that there's actually content in between the cover,
right?
So it's this weird, it rides this weird space of like shiny foil cover plus graded where you never actually open it. And then it's like, what is even inside these things? There are art books now, or like the things that people do. And it's just a funny space, where what Neo was saying, where in sports card, it's like, you don't lose any content when it's graded. No. You just look at the front and back anyway.
Yeah. So. I mean, you could almost look at it with keeping your toys unboxed. It's
right.
There's nothing if you're not going to play with the toys, there's really nothing you're missing by leaving them in the package.
Totally.
But what I would love to see for 2024, and look, this is just, I'd love to see people talking about making books popular because of what's in those pages. Like, why isn't a Watchmen #198 one of the best and most sought after books? It's one of the most important comic books ever created.
Right.
And it's a great book. And so why is that not a super big book? Why aren't people trying to own a Dark Knight Returns #198? Like, everybody should have that in their comic collection. You can't, okay, won't get gatekeepy, but in my opinion, you can't call yourself a comic book fan if you don't own that book. It's the greatest Batman story that revolutionized comics.
Right.
And 1986 was like the banner year for everything. I mean, we can't all own a TMNT 1 first print, but we all want to. Why isn't Dark Knight in everybody's collections then?
It's true. No, I think it's like people should fall in love with the stories, and that should be the thing of why people want to collect it. And then that should be the thing of why things become valuable and expensive, because people want to own it. And you have to pry it out of other people's hands because it means that much to them.
Yeah.
And that's why you have to pay up for it. So as opposed to I'm buying it because I'm going to get rich,
right.
It's like, it has to like almost work that way. Otherwise you're going to have what always happens with a bunch of exclusives that get hot and then crash and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I look at, I know I saw some people talking about the new facsimiles that are foil. There's no difference between those books and The Death of Superman. They're overproduced. Right. They're nothing special. Of course, we all want a Hulk 181. It's not that hard to find. I mean, it's a very obtainable book. The Golden Age stuff makes sense to me because as every day progresses, one less Golden Age book probably exists on this planet. Right. It's like people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wish, and so when people hear me being hypercritical about, the bigger mouthpieces, it's because it comes from a place of extreme care for the comic book medium.
Yeah. I think that there's some levels, like Metalface was getting at with the gatekeeping, like gatekeeping and criticism are two different things.
True.
And I think that fair criticism is fair criticism. And then gatekeeping, it gets taken to another level. And I think a lot of stuff in the weed of like, you might come out with an opinion that says like, well, I think, such and such and such and such. And then like it gets filtered into other people and then your words don't get properly translated over. And then other people are like, yeah, exclusives are bad. And it's like, well, I didn't technically say that, it's just, it's more complicated than that. It's more nuanced, but, yeah, it's a balance. And I think it's absolutely fair to criticize stuff. And even in the influencer space, like I don't call myself an influencer, but like other people would call me that from time to time. And I think about this stuff too. And I think about like, okay, like how do I properly represent certain things? And even with you too, it's like, it's an interesting thing. Like, one day your channel's going to blow up and then you showing a collection that you found, it's like all of a sudden it becomes like a different thing. If all of a sudden it's like 30,000 people are watching it, then it's like, well, now you've been doing the same thing.
Nothing's changed.
You haven't changed, you know, but then it's like, now how do you have to talk about it in a way that is not like, oh, but Dave, you also sell the books that you found, so then it's a weird, it's, I don't know. It's a weird space. And I'm trying to think about the answers, but I don't know what the answers are.
You're right. No, I had the Spider-Man collection that I bought, like that video blew up and people were like, oh, it's not the best Spider-Man collection ever. Well, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. Yeah. This is a channel of my experiences.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my wish for 2024 though, it is to get more people into knowing why these comics are important and appreciating them. Like I think there's not enough people that go after first print hardcovers and stuff like that. And I think those are those are pieces of comic book history. Like if you have, I don't know if you've ever seen, and I love talking about TMNT. The first hardcover that they ever did of TMNT is a signed edition of Laird and Eastman. and I think it's one of the coolest things ever made, and it's one of the rarest turtle pieces out there, period.
Mm.
And it's just I like the fringe stuff. I like the stuff that not everybody's looking for, but I'm always happy to share those things because I can't be everywhere buying every book all the time. So
well, that's what it takes too, is the education part of it, you know, and just you can share your excitement. I think this is cool because of XYZ, and then maybe other people think it's cool too. And then people will eventually call you a first print graphic novel pumper.
Good. I'll take it. I love that though. That's honestly the gist of why my channel started, was like before it even became me selling on the channel, it was to show off all this cool stuff that I find on a daily, weekly, monthly basis.
Yeah.
So, do you have somebody else coming on? I had one other question for you.
One other quick thing, and then Naobi, I see you, buddy. I'm gonna get you on, but what else, Dave?
I'm just curious, what's your collecting, not you're looking for single book, but like what's your collecting goal for the next year and expanding for your collection?
Yeah, I think I mean, you said to not say single books, but I'm gonna try to say a single book, but then I'm going to extrapolate it out to something bigger where, you know, with prices where they are, with things coming down, maybe things go even lower, who really knows? But to me, it's like, I've never had an AF-15. So it's like, to me, it's like, well, I guess it's as good a year as any, you know, to try to go after that. And then my bigger surface level thing is it's just seeing this as a year where a lot of those types of keys that I didn't really think that I was going to get are all doable, you know, or seem doable, you know, and if not even doable from a price perspective, I just really like that it's not like every progressive sale that goes up and up and up that it does this, you know? So I feel like I have a longer time horizon. So it's really, I think for me, it's finding the key books and stuff that I've always really, really wanted in my collection. I have my own like niche collecting things that I just collect for myself that I enjoy, that I don't really talk about on the channel. Like I like weird, like Dungeons and Dragons comic books and things like that I enjoy for myself. Yeah. Just filling out those little runs and things like that. And I think that those are, I guess, my top level things. It's just using this year as a time to find the grails and then just enjoy the books as they come, you know?
Sure. And you got to get that Darkhawk #1 9/8 Mark Jeweler double cover.
I don't know if the Mark Jeweler actually exists, but now I know that I can just marry it to my double cover over here. So I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that.
You don't want Breva finding out and then trying to get it from you so he can sell it.
Yeah.
So, well,
all right, Dave. Well, thanks again for hopping on the channel. Go check out West Coast Dave Avengers YouTube channel, everybody. And we'll see you in 2024.
All right, Swag. Thank you. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year.
Cheers.
All right. Great call. All right, next up, Naobi, I got you, and then Steve after that. But Naobi, thank you for finding a camera for me. I'm bringing you on now, sir.
Oh, it wasn't about finding the camera. It was I woke up, I was shirtless. I had to go run to the shower. I had to go shave. You understand?
It's good. You look amazing.
Well, I am pretty cute. You know, that's what they say. So I won't take up all your time. I do want to come on and say hello. Here's the thing. I'm a comic book creator, right? I'm in the industry. I'm in Diamond Magazine. I've been in there 6 times. And if anyone wants to doubt that, here's the book right here. We just actually had our latest issue drop in comic book shops this Wednesday with that Paul Green cover right there. Okay.
All right. Naobi, Birthright.
That's right. So we are published by Antarctic Press and have been for quite some time. So I'm coming to you as someone who's in, no, I'm not Marvel or DC. Let's be real here, right? But I am in the industry. You know, you can get my books in shops, And we work with some great people like Mike DeBuffalo, okay, or Jamie Tyndall, okay, or Greg Bo Watson. And as far as CGC goes, we do that too. We have a creator account, and we've had Ben Dunn, the founder of Antarctic Press and Ninja High School. We got Keith Garvey, known for his work with Zenoscope, all right? So when it comes to various issues in comic books, and let's start, I'll pick on maybe one or two. Let's start with comic book shops dying, okay?
Sure.
No one wants to hear the drama, but it's true, right? The reason why comic book shops are dying is because Marvel and DC aren't selling as well. And that could be for whatever reason. The reasons vary, right? It could be price point. It could be not enough shops. It could be kids just are reading more manga, whatever it is, right? But comic books the industry will die if Marvel and DC shut their doors, and they got to sell more books, which means they need better product. So I'm not sure what their plans are to do that, but if I was in their business, I'd be very worried right now, because there are guys like me who are now sitting on the same shelf as Batman looking to get your dollar, right? I mean, it's just flat out. That's just the way it is,
100%.
And so if you are not, and some people love Marvel, some people don't, whatever. If you're unhappy, though, don't stop going to the shop. Go to the shop and ask that shop owner, hey, is there any other books you can recommend to me? Maybe they'll recommend you mine. Maybe they'll recommend you someone else's. But you might actually get something you like instead of closing the door. Because here's what happens. Like, comic books is more than just the world of collectors, right? And I get it. You guys love your 9/8. I mean, I do too, right? I like selling them. No, don't get me wrong. I'm a collector. I got 13 long boxes that are right over there, Alex, the comic hoarder, would know this, because Alex and I used to be friends. We would stream together. I streamed with the Great Legend Show, Comics with Bueller. I was one of the founding members of the Comic Core. I've been in this game, in the YouTube game, for a long, long time. You guys probably don't know me because I've sort of been on the creator side of things now, as opposed to talking about speculation and what's hot and what's not and all this sort of stuff. But I used to do all that, all of it. With regards to CGC, that's horrible. Look, Immaculate Comics went on the other day and showed just how easy it is, with a little tender love and care, how you can legit slide a book right out and slide another one right back in. That means all hype, as far as I'm concerned, all high price books are compromised. They're all compromised. CGC comes out with a statement that hundreds of books are compromised. That's being very conservative on their part. Because here's the thing, the book doesn't even have to go through them anymore to be compromised. If I say had a 9.8 Spider-Man 300, right? And I replace it with a 9.0 or an 8.5, slap it in the case, throw it up on eBay, and you buy it, and maybe you don't have the keen eye as some other collectors, you take a quick look and you go, oh, okay, cool, right? You put it away and you never look at it again. Then I take that actual 9.8 that I took out of the slab and replace it with the batter copy and resubmit it to CGC. And then I get it back and I can pull that scam all over again. You guys have to worry about that. CGC needs better cases, better tampering, because until that actually comes out, these Hulk 181s, these Spider-Man 252s, whatever these sort of, because no one's going to worry about, hey, you graded a comic for $20. That you're safe. You know what I mean? Because It's not worth their time to go through that effort to take out these books and stuff. So I wouldn't get overly worried. But if you got big boy books, and that's what we used to call them back in the day, big boy books, right? I would scrutinize your books a little bit more. And I would definitely I cannot wait for CGC to relist the list of compromised books, because that is going to be like getting the Epstein list for comics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, flat out, that's what it is, right? And everyone then is going to be looking. They're all going to grab their cases and they're all going to, look for that serial number. And I'm telling you, it's going to be more than one guy doing that. Okay, it's just not one bad apple. It's probably a team of bad apples. And now that video, by the way, has circulated on YouTube, it was very eye-opening. The problem is now you just taught a whole shit ton of people how to do it.
I agree with that.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I feel of two minds about it, because it's, on the one hand, it's like, well, this is great information in theory to put out there, but had Immaculate came to me and said, hey, Swag, I was thinking of making this video, blah, 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 I probably would have said, like, I think you can make it, but you probably should just edit out a couple parts.
Yeah, what would you edit out? Like the heat gun part?
Yeah, you could have just said, and then not quite shown it, because, like you said, I do think that it in some ways it added to the problem. In some ways it needed to be seen. But I agree with some of the things that you've said, that it is a problem in so much as this probably does open it up to where CGC has their hand forced now, where they probably have to come out with a new case.
They had to come out with that statement, right? And that took them a little bit. And then they said that they were going to have a private investigator. Why do you think they're having a private investigator for? Because they want to see how deep this rabbit hole really goes, Well, I do think that
I said in my video, I said that I hope they do a thorough investigation, because yes, clearly this person, the forums discovered that it's hundreds of books. This person was in on it, but there's nothing to say that someone else hasn't done this as well. So, they're going to have to leave no stone unturned with how they look into this. And if something can be done, it probably has been done. That's just the nature of it.
I love the comment here. Comic shops are dying because of overcharging and bad customer service. No, listen, you had 3 retailers come on with Mark Miller, and all of them told you guys the same thing. And these guys are the retailers for the largest comic book shops in the United States, and you still refuse to listen to them? That's another problem. You know, these are the guys with boots on the ground selling my product to people out there like you guys. Okay. We depend on the shops. If Marvel and DC went down, the foot traffic stops going to the shops. By proxy, that destroys my business because people come in for Batman, right? They're going to go in, they're going for Batman, and hopefully when they walk by the shelf, they see something else cool. I know I did. When I was younger, right? You talked about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, right? I remember going in buying my X-Men, you know, and I remember seeing Mirage Studios, Black and White Turtles, or Cerebus the Aardvark, or Ninja High School, or some of these other sort of unknown indie books. And I would pick them up because I was there for something else, but I grabbed it off the shelf. I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. Without that foot traffic, comic books are in big trouble, right? If Marvel and DC do decide to shut down their doors, or the other possibility is that they outsource it, right? So maybe IDW licensed Spider-Man, or Boom Studios takes on the X-Men, because that's a possibility too. And we've already seen that because Marvel has out-licensed stuff for their children's line, right? To these other companies. That's almost like a testing ground. Then you have DC Comics who are now trying to put out books in a manga format size to try and appeal to younger readers, right? So there's a huge scramble going on right now. It's like, how do we actually get people back interested in comic books? Because I'll tell you, if we don't get the younger kids reading comics again, they die with us. They'll become like the records, right? Records are cool and they're nostalgia and everyone buying them now. But those slabs that you got behind you, those are going to be the records of today's comic books. You know what I mean? And then comic books are eventually, at some point, probably, and I hate to say this because it would destroy my business, is going to go digital at some point. Because everyone is born now with a little device in their hands, and that's how they read and get their content, right? I can tell you that because I talk to younger kids all the time, especially when I see them at the shop. And I say, what's it about comic books? Or, why don't, what's it about manga? And they're like, well, we love it because we can get it on our phone. One guy told me he didn't want 13 long boxes in his house because it looked ugly. You hear that story about how people rather buy the trades and the omnibuses. Well, if you do that, you're kind of hurting the overall end goal because it is the floppies that pay to have those trades made. Without the floppy selling, you can't make the trade, right? Sure. Eric Larson came right out and just said this on a statement, So if you really care about comics, I would say do a couple of things. Watch what you're doing with CGC. Be careful of that because obviously we've seen the flaws and the scams. And I'm sure more is going to roll out as time goes on. And if you do go to the comic book shop and you're not seeing the stuff you like, give other stuff a try. Because I'm sure there's some gems in there, bro.
Yeah. 100%.
And by the way, Naobi Birthright did go on sale this Wednesday. So go pick it up.
Huda said, Naobi, one of the best. Congratulations on 1K.
So Huda Comics, that's oh god, I love Huda because he was another guy that was around back in my day. Yeah. Him and Alex, but like I can name drop a bunch of guys from back in the time, but I'm sure you would probably know all of them. So great to see Huda out there in the chat. Great to see Alex out there in the chat. Anyone else that knows me and I didn't quite see your name, great to see you out in the chat. I just want to let you guys know. It's been a few years, but I'm still doing my thing. Naobi's a different beast now than when Alex and Huda first saw, because we were black and white. We might as well have been printing off a Xerox printer, right? And stapling our comic books together. We've grown so much. We do $30,000 Kickstarters now. We're published by Antarctic Press. And 2024 is going to be, it's going to be a great year.
Absolutely. I hope so. I'll definitely go check out Naobi. You guys should check out Naobi. Great stuff. Great thoughts, great comments. And yeah.
Well, we talk about this stuff all the time. So the last shill I would say is come by my channel and see what it is that we do.
Will do.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year's.
It's a great call. Great call from Naobi. A lot of passionate things, a lot of stuff to unpack, but I would dig into all those topics, but we got some other people we got in the backstage. I see Steven, and then I got Mike, and then I see 99 Manu. All right, Steven, coming on, sir. Cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers. Happy New Year. I know it's a little bit early here on the West Coast, but I'm already getting started. And cheers to you. Happy New Year's, everybody out there.
Steven has all of the reasons to celebrate because if you guys have been following his YouTube channel, I feel like he picks up an amazing collection like every single week or trades for some incredible grail comic book, and so things are looking good over there in in the OC.
Yeah, I think we've been kind of meeting each other at some shows, mostly near Mint Sundays. That's one of the big shows that we see each other at. I think that's unfortunately one of the most viewed YouTube videos that I'm in is Swaggle Haas's interviewing me at a near Mint Sunday show. See, I can't even get that many views on my videos, but when I'm on Swaggle Haas's channel, when he's interviewing me as a seller at near Mint Sundays, that's when I get the most views. So I appreciate it, buddy. I am now famous because of your video.
Let me pause that because I can't even get as many views on my YouTube videos as my videos when I talk to people at comic book shows. So
there you go.
We're all in the same boat.
We helped each other out, right? There you go.
But I think the lesson for 2024 is basically Steven and I should just go to all the comic book shows and we'll just film each other, talk to each other at those shows, and we'll have 1 million subs, by the end of the year.
Those are amazing. Those are amazing, though. I watched every single one. Now, everybody that you've had on so far had some great questions. I want to kind of not take too much of your time, but there was a couple questions. I think Neo had a question of how we're able to set up a trade for comic book shows. And I think you kind of hit it on the head. You said the coordinator of the show would need to set up something separate. Like, I think one of the options is Cal Comic Con. That one's in Orange County. That one's coming up. Yeah, they have a separate trade night right before the day of the show. And that's kind of like a similar type of thing where card traders do. They do like 2 hours where they serve drinks. Everybody brings boxes. So I'm going to put the word out. Hopefully Near Mint Sundays can do something like that. I'm going to put a word out for the coordinator there because if you guys are on the West Coast, you guys should really check out Near Mint Sundays.
100%.
Swaggle Haas, you've done some great interviews at Near Mint Sundays. I, as a collector, I feel like I'm more of a collector than I am a dealer, even though obviously, we kind of are hybrid of both, but allows me as a collector to set up a small booth. I only have maybe like 6 or 7 short boxes. So a collector can set up a short box or a booth there with 6 or 7 short boxes and just sell. People come and trade. So it doesn't feel like I'm a dealer trading with collectors. It feels like I'm a collector trading with other collectors there.
Right.
So that's pretty awesome. Now, the next question I wanted to address is, I don't know if this is a question, I just wanted to address it, but how has this CGC scam affected someone like me? So if some folks don't know about me, I've taken a little bit of the comic philosophy of each of the YouTubers and kind of applied it to my own. That's kind of like my philosophy is swag. I take a little bit of what you do and I like this, so I apply it to myself. Automatic Comics, Ryan, we talk all the time. He has the top 40, and that's all I've been doing in the past 2 years is just consolidating my top 40. So that's what I do. I like to I like to look to see what folks are doing on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, I like that. I'm going to try that for myself. So as a CGC collector, I do have my top 40, and they're pretty big books. So it's very rare that I add things to my collection, but I have some raw books. I don't know if you guys seen recently my haul video, but these are some raw books I was gonna send to CGC.
Oh, let's see, full video.
So I have Wonder Woman #4, Golden Age book right here.
Nice.
And there's a reason I'm showing this. This is not just a flex. Wonder Woman #4. I have Tales to Astonish 27, first Ant-Man, right? I have Werewolf by Night, a very high grade Werewolf by Night here. And there's just 4 books that just got back from a presser. This is a Journey into Mystery 83. Very, very nice one. These I was about to send to CGC, but now I'm holding off. Now, the reason for that is because we have no idea what CGC is going to do when they release their statement. So are they going to change the reholder? Are they going to add something to the inner sleeve? Are they going to change their certification process? So we have no idea what they're going to do. And I had a ton of stuff that I was going to send into them, including these 4 and some reholdering, because I have slabs that are cracked or old labels that I wanted to change to new ones. So I am now holding off because I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but I'm one of those where I was waiting to send it in and I heard the news and I'm like, okay, I need to wait now because
interesting.
I don't know what your thoughts on that, but I don't think I should be sending those in, because what if they say, hey, you know what? We're going to be changing the way our slabs look. We're going to be adding a certificate on the inner sleeve. I've heard all of these kind of, resolutions of what can solve or help solve some of these scams. And I feel like waiting is just the best. So I wanted to see what your thoughts on that.
Well, let me ask this. Let me answer your question with a question. So if they came out, so you're gonna hold on this. If they came out next year, let's say in March, they come out and they say, hey guys, in the wake of this, we're coming out with our new slab, more security, blah, 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 whatever they decide to do. You obviously have some great books. Would you now feel like you need to reholder all of those ones into this new secured case that they came out with? Because like obviously then I would assume you probably would be like, cool, now I'll send this Journey into Mystery or this Werewolf by Night. But like, what about your old stuff?
My old stuff. I was thinking about that same question. I was like, would I send all my slabs in? It would depend on how much the cost is, number one. And it would depend if I'm looking to keep it long term. If I'm planning to keep it long term, I would probably send it in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
because it's almost like you feel like I'd have to future proof it so that I can sell it down the road. I don't know, that I'm still kind of like on the fence on if I would send it in. It would make it depends on what CGC could offer. If they're offering like, hey, we normally charge a reholder fee of $50 for unlimited value. Like if I wanted to send in a big book, it's expensive to get a reholder.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
well, especially
if I'm sending,
that you have, it's going to be 4%, right, of whatever the value
is. If I'm sending in 20 of those, that's a big chunk. I would have to kind of analyze like how much it would cost if they were allowing me to reholder everything, because these big keys, I mean, there's some of them that I just reholdered like last year, and I'm like, well, that sucks. I mean, what if they come out with another one that, is more secure? But I reholdered it myself, so if I wanted to sell it, I can say, I have the evidence that I sent this in myself.
Right. Let me ask this, and last little thing, because I'm going to get to Mike and Manu soon, but you said that you're like, okay, I'm going to pause sending in your Werewolf and your Thor right now. But like, what are you kind of waiting for? Like, what's going to make you say, okay, I can set it in now?
See, I am just kind of trying to be patient to see what the next steps are for CGC, because it might not say, like, there might not be an announcement that would say that would be definitive for me sending it in. Like if they say, oh, we're going to be setting up a new holder, it might take a couple months, then I might say, it might be different 3 months down the line. I might say, maybe I'm just going to keep it raw anyway. Like some of these are duplicates, so I'm not really like, if it's a duplicate for me, I'm not really in a rush to send it in, because I can technically sell them as raw. Like this Journey into Mystery, like if I wanted to sell it raw, I could at a show. Be a little bit tough at a show, but it probably wouldn't be tough to sell it raw.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that you're alone in people kind of getting a little bit of pause of like, okay, I'm just going to kind of feel it out for a little bit.
If my thoughts are jumbled, it's probably because there's so much variables right now to those situations. It's like, I haven't even made up my mind what I wanted to do. Like next month, it can be different. Like next month I can be like, you know what? I'm just going to sell all of these. I'm not even going to send it in. I'm just going to keep it as is, because for me to keep it in my top 40, I like it to be slabbed, but that might, you never know, that could change.
Yeah, it could. All right, Steve. Well, we'll see what
buddy.
happens next year, but you have a good rest of your night. Be safe. Happy New Year to you. And
Happy New Year.
We'll have to do more videos at Comic-Cons in 2024.
Absolutely. All right. Good talking to you,
All
buddy.
right,
See ya. Bye.
It's a good call. Comics with Bonics. Go sub him up, guys. Go check out his YouTube channel. Great dude. We always see each other at shows and stuff. And yeah, it's interesting. Just the what are you going to do with your books? You're going to send in your books now. Are you waiting on the sidelines? Everyone's different. Everyone's different. All right, Mike, I got you, sir. Bringing you on. What's going on?
Can you hear me? Hey, how you doing,
I can hear you.
Hear me? Okay. Hey, no, I appreciate that guy right before Steven. That was I never heard the term "never greater" until I was watching you guys.
Yeah.
I just was sort of setting that aside because I was kind of of the mind of like, that's Schrodinger's grade, right? If I'd never actually graded, it could be good or whatever I think it is. And then right when I started thinking, okay, now it's time to, put these into some kind of official grade and whatever, the scandal comes out, right? And what he just said, kind of was kind of what I was going to bring up was, what do you do? Do you wait? Do you see if there's a new and improved case? Do you see if there's a new and improved process? Because it would, and some of these books, like this one here, like you, and again, I appreciate you telling me about the blue right here.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah. The blue at the bottom.
Right. I've been sitting on this for a while. I've got some old ones. Like I heard rumors like, oh, blue labels were harsher back in the day. Hang on to that. It could go better if you bring it back. So yeah.
Oh, Mike, we lost you, sir. Maybe your camera cut out. This is what happens in the collector call-in shows, a little bit of technical difficulties. Let me see, Mike, if you can hear me, maybe you'll hop back in or call back in. Let me pull you back up, see if you're there. Nope. We lost Mike. And I think he was just about to get to a really good question. Like he had laid the foundation of all this stuff. Okay, I see Mike again. All right, I'm bringing you back on.
Sorry about that. Hold on a second.
That's all right.
I'm on my iPad, so that's why I think I got a call. No, so that was my first point was just, no, I appreciate that because that was kind of my question about, do you hold, do you wait to see? Because sending that stuff in is expensive. They want $800-900 for something like a Tales of Suspense.
Yeah.
Is a better way. So the second thing I was gonna say is I know you did a video a while back about you almost got a AF-15, right? And so your journey in 2024 is kind of what I'm doing, right? So I'm curious to see, like, now that scandal's out, now that books could be suspect, does that factor into what you're doing for 2024 about how you're going to buy it? I mean, are you going to buy it in person? Would you buy it, online through eBay? Would you go through an auction? Would you only go to a show? Because like, for instance, right now I've got a guy, I think out of somewhere in the Midwest, got a 2.5, looks pretty good. I can get it for $24K, right? Do I make that move or do I wait until see what happens at see what happens 24, then only maybe do it in person? I'm curious what's your how you're going to make that move,
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, like, I'm kind of at like different tiers of steps of what I personally would do, where it's like, if it's a book like that level, yeah, in an ideal world, like the one that I almost bought that I didn't get was at a local comic store. So I got to like look at it, I got to flip through it, and the price was right. And so to me, it was like, okay, price is right. I have this book today in hand, and I get to look at it. Like, I'll 100% jump on this. Right. So that would be like my most ideal is like, if I can find those situations or I find a book in person is number one to me. And then number two would be like, I would trust a Heritage Auctions, for instance, or a Comic Connect or some of these other auction houses if I buy from them, because they have some liability with what they sell. Like, they've had things where they sold stuff like, for instance, if you bought a book and then it ended up being like, oh, this comic was restored or something, like, it's money back guarantee. Like, they'll take it all back. So there are some checks and balances with that. I probably would be a little weary buying a book like that off of Facebook or like on eBay.
Instagram.
Yeah,
there was like an Instagram.
If it was on a consignment page, I would.
Yeah, like I saw a guy was on Instagram and then he was low. I mean, I think you're in LA too, right? I think we're both in the LA area, right? So I'm probably south of you. There was a guy about an hour and a half south. He had like a 4.5 for like low 40s, and obviously if it sounds too good to be true, like it usually is. But he was like, oh yeah, I'm not taking cash, and I'm like, okay, that's just weird. Like, why not, right? So again, there's just a lot of weird stuff. That's like, trying to buy this book for some reason is just there's so much, just there could be so much sketchiness around it. It's a book I want to get this year, this next year. But yeah, I'm just curious how you're going to go about that, because it's again, there's so many. I mean, if you want one and you don't really care about the money and you don't really care about, is it whatever? I mean, you can get one, but I'm just trying to be on the careful side,
Yeah, I think it's good to be careful at that level. And even, shout out to Como Drew in the chat, like another YouTuber. He talked about, he bought his raw AF-15 years ago from a reputable dealer, but it ended up being restored and stuff. So like, it can happen to anybody, and I think at the end of the day, if you can see it in person, that's maybe ideal. But other than that, like, there's always that risk. I mean,
because there was a guy, just to wrap this up, there was a guy, I mean, and that's the other thing too, is pricing too, right? I appreciate the indexes you do. That's one of my favorite parts of your content, is how you talk about the macro, the microeconomics around it all. Because again, this is something I love. I grew up collecting books, but the economics of it are important, right? Because I mean, I've got a lot of us watching this show, and we have a lot of money tied up here. Oh, yeah. And, I got a kid, probably going to college the next couple of years, right? This is all going to come into play, right? But I saw that video of some cat like a couple of weeks ago. He's like, "Yeah, I'm selling everything." The 21 boom is now the 22, 23 bust. I messed up, bought books Spec, now I got to sell everything and start over. So I'm wondering, how much of that stuff too is still going to be sliding out into the market with guys that are like, "Yeah, I'm selling it. It got to go prices," Yeah. So that's why I appreciate the index, because you start to kind of see, okay, what's that trend line doing? So do I wait to pull the trigger on AF-15, next year? What's it going to look like in 6 months? So just want to say I appreciate you putting the work in on those videos. I know that's probably not an easy thing to do, so appreciate that.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Hey, look, it's not a perfect system. I'm not saying this can predict anything.
I get it. It's not, but it's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's very helpful.
Shout out to all the other YouTube shows that stream out there, because when I do all that data entry, I need people talking about comics in the background. So just as long as the shows are out there, then I can entertain myself.
But I do. I just want to let you know. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, Sean.
Well, Mike. Yeah, best of luck to you. Hope you find it next year.
Yeah, you too. I'll be watching for your video when you get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Happy New Year. All right, we got Manu 99, and then we got Izzy, and I might cut off the line after Izzy, because it's New Year's Eve, guys. We still got to go out tonight here on the West Coast. It's still time to get wild. But 99 Newsstand coming in hot. We got the man, the myth, the legend, 99 himself on the channel. If you guys don't know, 99, along with West Coast Dave, was the guy that found this whole CGC thing that kicked it all off. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. This is my first time on the channel. Happy New Year, and thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Technically, we did the stream on Dave's channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get to share the camera again, but on my channel. So this is a special moment.
I love that. I want to start by saying, obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about CGC. Sure. I am a huge supporter of third-party grading. I believe in the necessity of it. I know why it came into existence. The problems are, the holes in the system from there on, right? And I think, and that's why these conversations exist. But I want third-party grading to succeed, absolutely. I don't think it's necessarily so great that we don't have a great, a second place alternative or someone close in the running. There's a lot of power with one entity, and with great power comes great responsibility, and we're trying to hold them accountable to that responsibility. We want to trust them, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think it, and so I understand everybody's conversation about this might not be as severe, or it might be blown out of proportion, but I think it's also really important to not downplay it, especially publicly, because the voices that have an audience have great influence on that audience. And when you say something's wrong, they get scared. When you say it's not that bad, they take it easy. It's really important right now to, I know it sounds a little negative, but to keep the pressure on CGC, because if they feel too much forgiveness or acceptance, nothing will ever happen, right? Yeah. And I think that's unavoidable. And but that's why it's important for me to start by saying, I need third-party grading to succeed. It's very important. There are sellers who you can take their word for what a book might be, but there's a lot of just hobbyists, right? Just, loose sellers. When they want to upgrade, they sell something, they might not know how to tell you what's wrong with the book. And so we need that to succeed. And also, Dave brought on the Wizards and talked about how that was the introduction of CGC. So I want to say this combines them both. I love third-party grading, and I love wizards. You know, I'm all about it. I'm not
The
against
OG
any of this stuff.
influencer, Wizard Magazine.
The OG influencer. And so first of all, this is a great success, Swagger. Maybe second of all, like this call-in show, this has been awesome, right?
Oh,
I've
good.
enjoyed,
Yeah, it's been fun.
oh no, it's been so fun. I've enjoyed everybody on, all of their perspectives. And I think to give me things to talk about is just kind of going over some of these perspectives, right? Seeing Metal Face on here, Metal Face Collector, that was dope. Shout out, you know, that's my guy. And we've recently connected, and I hope we continue to have conversation. But he was talking about negativity in the community, right? And it exists, and on certain platforms it exists more. But I think it's also really important to recognize that what you give into the algorithm on those platforms is what they give you back.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is if you go onto my page, right, before the controversy kind of took over the top posts on my page, but even those, when you go into the comment section, there's well-articulated thoughts there. It's not just bashing CGC, because I haven't created an environment for just bashing blindly. And even when I talk about something seriously, I don't just bash. I try to support it with, you know, thoughtful reasons, right? And if you go into one of my other posts where I'm just sharing a book that I'm excited about, which is a CGC encapsulated book 99% of the time, the comment section, where there's oftentimes hundreds of comments, they're a very positive environment. So if you seek out the positive environments and you water those environments and you create relationships where that's what's sort of appreciated, well, you're going to get more of that. Now, I'm not on Facebook, and I know that, you know, people tear you apart over there. I hear that. I'm not on the forums, and I hear people might tear you apart over there. But in terms of what I've curated, the environment for my friends on Instagram, it is a very loving place, and it's always been. We call each other friend. We say I love you all the time to each other, as cheesy as it is. You know, serious thoughts, intelligent people, but I think love is always very apparent. You know, we're all connecting with our inner child when we talk about this stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's true, money is coming to play, and that's when things go a little bad. But that's why it's so important to call out what the potential risks are here, so we are more sophisticated as people spending our money, so that we're more detail oriented before pulling the trigger. Not all 9/8s are created equal. Not all 9/6, not all graded anything is created equal. So we have to look beyond that authority that we've given to one establishment to put a grade on. And still, I know it's kind of like, well, what the hell was the point of it to begin with then? Well, it's just not a perfect system. You have to look at the book. Buy the book, not the grade, is like the greatest saying of all time. You know, this thing came to light yesterday, and I had some phone calls about it. The Djurjevic, the 1 in 25 Ultimate Fallout 4, the 9/8. There was a sale yesterday. It was an $11,000 buy it now or best offer on eBay, and the offer accepted was $9,500.
Yeah. Wait, before you cook, because you're cooking, in case nobody dialed in, I just want you guys to know I was ready. I was ready to talk about.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, let's talk. All right, here we go.
I was ready to, in case nobody dialed in, but carry on what you were saying.
No, I love it. So since you already had that, I want to plant a couple of more things. First of all, I've been passionate about that book, and this is just my opinion, guys. I don't own it. I'm not bashing it. And if someone has it and they've paid a lot of money for it, I feel for them. But the truth is, there are 200 some odd 9.8s of that book. That is too many for it to have been trading for 35 and 40 grand when it was. Yeah. Everyone should have known that maybe it wasn't going to sink to 9 grand, and maybe it wasn't going to go down to 5 or whatever. It wasn't going to hold at 40. That was too much money for a book that didn't take slow steps there. You had too many owners of that 200 quantity that were in it for 2,000, 3,000 when it wasn't worth squat. And they're seeing the dollar sign. So they're going to come to market, and that's going to, bring the market down to supply and demand, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But when values go slowly up, you have holders of that item at higher prices. They might not sell for a lower price, But this sale yesterday of $9,500, now we're already in a downward trend market, and it was sort of inevitable that book was going to get hit. It's regarded as special, but it's not regarded as sacred by the overall community, by many. And also back to this idea of all 9.8s aren't created equal. No disrespect to whomever bought that book. That book may have actually gone to 12 or 13 grand, but it wasn't an attractive 9.8. If you investigate the eBay picture, of which there's only one and the entire bottom is cut out and there's no back, You have to go to CGC, you have to run the cert number, you have to take a look at the scans. And if you go detail into those scans, that book actually has 4 or 5 micro but color breaking spine ticks on it. It's not a desirable 9.8 for something that's $10,000 plus. It has white showing on both spine corners, and you can see those on the back of the book as well. So that could be part of the reason. So you have this compounded problem. You have a downward trend in the market. You have a book that a lot of people are just really, really waiting for it to crash so they could have I told you so moment.
It's like everyone's like, people draw lines in the sand with that book. It's like a sports rivalry with that, you know?
Absolutely. And then you have, you know, most recently sort of the scandal, right? So and it was not a great looking 9.8, right? So all of that is all combined in the reason that it went for below 10. But definitely a sale that's registered on the sales sites, and it's not going to do anything good for that book in the near term. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, but not all 9.8s are created equal. You already had that loaded up. So what were some of your thoughts about it, and what did you want to comment on about that sale?
Well, you know, again, in the event that nobody came on to hang out with me tonight, I just pulled up a few tabs of like, all right, well, I got to entertain people anyway. So I was going to talk about it. And I think I was just going to maybe address, you know, that book, something to watch for was going to be like, okay, did it go under 5 figures? And if it did go under 5 figures, does that now open up the floodgates for it to like retrace back to whatever it was like before all the craziness? I mean, at one point it was like $4,000 before it went to 40,000 not too long after. So
yeah,
is it now in a place where, okay, you see a $9,000 one? Well, now psychologically, because it's gone under 5 figures, like, does that mean like other people are going to, you know, list theirs constantly? And are we going to see it go down to whatever, 4 or 5 or whatever? So I was gonna shoot a little bit on it and talk about that, but it's like you said, I mean, you nailed it, where it shot up too fast, too much. And so everyone who had it, who had like a cost basis of like whatever, 2,000 into it, it's like, you would be a fool not to sell it. Like if you have 30 grand on the table to make, so like, of course you should sell it. Like, because, you know, I mean, like, and that's the problem. So like too many people who had it, it's like, not to say that it isn't a great book, not to say that it's not a very special key that people are going to love. It's just that because it went up that fast, like there's just too many people who have so much equity that of course they're going to need to sell it. And then it becomes a race to the bottom. Like once that starts to happen, you know?
And so I agree with you completely. And so now the question is, right, where's that bottom? What's the price for that book where someone says, there's no way I'm not picking it up at this price? Because that will establish the floor. And then it starts to get a tiny bit more expensive each sale after each sale, if that's the true bottom. And I know Automatic, I think he's, you know, on record as saying that he believes 5,000 is what's going to come next. Right. And that's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. You have a shook up market right now. Anything can happen. It doesn't go to zero. Nothing cool goes to zero. But where does it go before everyone says, oh, no, I'm adding it to my collection?
I mean, my theory with like a lot of books has been like, look, before things went crazy in 2021, before everyone was bored during COVID and got back into comics, there was a floor for all books. So it stands to reason that it's not going to go lower than that, because it was already selling for that at that time. Now, that's not to say that it can't go, but like whatever it was at that time, 4,000 or 5,000, you know, whatever it was, it's like, okay, probably that's the floor, because that's when you had the people who wanted it anyways, and they were unwilling to sell it for less than 4 or 5. So I think you'll have those same people plus some who came into the hobby after the COVID stuff.
Yeah. And, you know, at 3 or 4 grand, I might be willing to risk 3 or 4 grand having something
I might have to buy it at 3 or 4 grand. I mean,
you know,
I feel like there's be worse books that you could buy for that price range, you know, and yeah, whatever, like 2 years from now when the economy's better and they have the 3rd movie, you probably could sell it for more. Like you're probably not going to, you know.
It's one of the Miles Morales is awesome, and it's one of the most awesome Miles Morales books. And I know you have somebody else waiting, and I know you want to wrap up because it is New Year's Eve. I do want to talk about one thing really quickly, and maybe, you know, that'll lead to some opinions from you about this as well. I agree. Majority of the books are not at risk here, but highlighting how important it is now to recognize the trusted sellers, right? They're the cream of the crop. They're going to rise to the top here, because if you have someone that you don't trust to take you seriously, if you're unhappy when a purchase arrives with you, you know, one of those guys that you're kind of scared to tell them you're unhappy because they're just going to say, screw off, kid, you know, you're new to books or something. I like that the caution is out here now. I like that people are investigating their purchases before making them. Responsibility is never a bad thing, you know? And so, and this might actually separate how much you're willing to pay somebody for a book. It might not actually depress the values, but you might actually pay a premium for a book when the seller can tell you, I've graded it myself. The word provenance, right? Provenance, whatever it is, you know? When we talk about a pedigree collection, it's so cool because like it's a one owner book. This guy bought these books 60 years ago. This is his one owner collection. Now they're all graded. How amazing. Well, provenance, that's what that is, right? It's knowing where the book came from. So when you have an individual like Dave here, West Coast Day Ventures, he buys a lot of his books, and the ones that are worth grading to really capitalize if it's a high value. He knows that he has done a page count on his own. He knows if the stamps are in there, if the tattoos are in there, and then it goes to get graded, and it's going to land somewhere around what he thought. Well, you can trust that book is good because you know where it came from. You know it was graded by that individual. And those sorts of transactions, I think, are just going to be appreciated more. And you might actually be comfortable paying a little bit more knowing that the book is legit. And that's not to say that one that you might be uncertain about is absolutely illegitimate. It just means that uncertainty might mean that you're going to want a bit of a discount on it. I know I don't want to put that out there. I'm just saying you.
I wonder. Imagine this being a saying in 2024, where it's like, I got a book for sale, and I brand it as graded by the seller.
I think that's a legit. Listen, I'll give you. Not to cut you off, but I don't think that's even a sarcastic sort of joke or anything. I think that is a beautiful thing to be said. When you sell a car, one owner cars, that's the way to go. One owner
car, yeah.
All right. Like this is the same sort of thing. These are again, we're not talking about $75 slabs, $200 slabs. That's a big deal too. That's money, but we're talking about the really expensive stuff. And an example of that is, the books that first came under scrutiny here from this scam that brought to light other potential risks in graded books and flaws in the system were those marked jewelers, those 9.8 white page marked jewelers. Yeah. One of the last ones that the scammer had listed that we did a stream and we bid it to the moon, it didn't actually sell, was the Secret Wars 8. And it got to $21,100 before the seller, 30 minutes prior to it being ended it himself. We were live, our friends were having fun, no one intended to pay. We just wanted to get this guy out of here rightfully. Now, that sale was recorded, but most people knew that sale wasn't legitimate. And I actually have to contact GPA and tell them to remove that sale, and they will because we have the proof of that. But a friend of ours, James Dorfler, had a copy, a 9.8 white pager. And he was confident that he bought it from the original grader, the original owner of the book, the person that graded it. And when he listed that book, he publicized it on his Instagram page and wrote a detailed sort of description of where it came from, who the owner was, who he bought it from, why he's confident that it's a legit copy. And he added all of that information to his eBay listing. Now, with all of this controversy right now, that book could have fallen flat and maybe no one would have paid thousands of dollars for it. It still succeeded in bringing in $9,600. Right. And it's because he had that supporting evidence of this is probably a safe buy. If that evidence wasn't there, that book would have been shunned. Right. And I think that's case in point.
Yeah. That's going to be a big deal. I do think that definitely something to consider. I mean, you cooked for so much. I'm going to get Izzy. I see you.
No, yeah, please. Yeah, thank you.
But no. There's so many good points in there that, hey, you should have a podcast, sir, and you can just do all these points and lay it out. But no, great stuff, man. I completely agree with everything you said. Last thing I'll do before I let you go, I do want to address the one thing you said at the very top, which was the idea of are people taking things, a little out of overblown with like the panic? Yes, a little bit, but also it is important, like you said, to keep, the foot on the gas a little bit. It's probably a lot of my books behind my head are probably fine. In fact, most people's books are fine, but it doesn't mean that this isn't also extremely important to to address. So
Right.
shout outs to you, sir. I completely agree. And if you guys don't know, 99 Newsstand, Instagram, go give him a follow, see what he has to say. And I hope that, we hear more from you about this. And, maybe we'll get Matt Nelson on your Instagram live or something like that. I don't know. That'd be cool to see.
Maybe it happens. Swag, you're a gem in the community. I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year. Talk to you
All right.
later.
Bye. Great times with Manu. But we're about to round it out, guys, with the last caller of the evening, Izzy Verse, NYC. Shout out to you, Izzy. What's going on, sir? Oh, you're muted.
There you go. Had to put the
How's
mute
it going?
button on. How you doing, Mickey? How's everything over there?
I'm good. I'm good. It's good to see you again.
Good to see
If you guys
man.
don't know, Izzy's got a YouTube channel. Go give him a follow.
Mhm.
Great guy in the community. I saw you at Terrificon. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I'm just listening to all this great stuff. So you say you got Izzy waiting in the background. I'm just there. I'm like, I gotta listen to this stuff because I came in late to this whole CGC scam thing going on because I was busy with other things in my life. So when I started hearing more about what was going on, and when I saw the video that they actually posted, I was like, wow, this is insanity, right? But at the same time, it is something that sooner or later was bound to happen, I think, because of what's going on and the way the business is being run, which is interesting to note because what does the other companies do about it? So yeah, CGC is doing what they have to do, right, to make a stronger, more durable holder. And let's be honest, I got a few slabs myself that have cracks in it, just from time period, right, just from wear and tear, and now that's in at risk here. It's in a certain way, right? But then you have companies like CBCS who they just dropped a new label. So this is like not to say that they're going to capitalize, but yeah, they're going to capitalize. Right now I'm wearing an All Elite Wrestling shirt. So anybody who knows wrestling know that for a very long time WWE was the only place, and we talked about monopolizing, right?
Yeah.
And then came this little company called AEW that came out of nowhere and started being, we're still number 2, right? But we're starting to gain traction. Well, that's the idea here, is like we need more companies like a CBCS, like a PGX that we could trust, but at the same time that competition builds better quality. It's the same thing, right? So we talk people showing their books. I just got this book slabbed from New York Comic Con.
Let's see that here. Yeah.
You see this one?
First Taylor
Right?
Swift. I see it.
Yeah, exactly. First Taylor Swift. And it's signed by Claremont. And, it has the label, the New York Comic Con label, and things like that. So now, is this book at risk? And I just got this. This is my personal book, right? This is a personal book of mine. Now, is this book at risk because now we're running the risk of, the likelihood of whether or not, like you said, Taylor Swift is going to be Dazzler? We don't know until it happens, right?
Right.
But if I want to, go ahead and see and capitalize of how much I can make from this book, can I now? You know what I mean? Or someone say, is that book legit and things like that? It's the same thing. So to this whole concept is, it was bound to happen sooner or later. Now, how do you make it better? And how do all these other companies take advantage of the vulnerability really that CGC just developed? Will they? Is the question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that was what 99 was kind of getting at, where it's like, even with or without the pitchforks, it's important to let it be known that your dollars have to be earned by the companies, right? They have to respond to this in a way that is going to be restoring our trust, or they have to provide a product that we want to that we like, because nothing is too big to fail. And if they're not going to react to this, which they did, thankfully, but if they weren't,
they did a good job there.
Going to address like, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it, here's how we're going to make it right, then that would be grounds for a CBCS to come in and get some market share and things like that. And it's going to take a lot of work for CBCS to really gain ground. I think at the end of the day, it's all about the values. If CBCS, S books sell it at the same price as CGC, then I think nobody would care about either company. But it's really just the value part. But if the brand trust is broken, then the values, might come down a little bit. And a lot of people are saying that we might see graded books lose some value in the wake of this. I don't know how we would actually measure that, like how you would be able to really tell if that was actually happening. But do you have a sense of that? Do you think that this would actually, like you talked about, you showed your Dazzler book. I mean, do you think that it's now going to be harder if you decided one day to sell that it's going to be harder to move that because it's...
I think it depends on the seller, right? The who the seller is. Do we know who the seller is? It's like when you go to eBay, you don't know unless you look at the ratings, right? Oh, how many stars does this person has, right? And anybody could have a bad day. Anybody. Right. You could sell something and someone says, "Oh, I didn't get what I want, so I'm going to put a bad comment," right? And then that could hurt you. Then you have some place like Shortbox where you don't really know who you're buying from, but Shortbox are the ones that are saying, "Hey, we're good with this, and we'll take care of you if that's the case," which is ideal because their focus really are on comics rather than everything else, like an eBay sale. So, and then you have the dealers, because then you also have to look at the dealers that are at the conventions where you're going. The dealers all has what's in front of them. They're not going to have what the number system, this certification number. They're not. They're just gonna. This is what it is. Buy it as is. Whether it's real or not, you make the decision.
Yeah.
So you have to really be. If you're going to be a collector, you got to be a smart collector. If you're going to start collecting big boy books, as they call them now, right? Then you really have to do the homework for it. If you're going to cough up that kind of money, you better know what you're going to do. Just like you buy a used car, right? When you buy a car, 99 mentioned it before. When you buy a car, when you find out they had one owner, wow, that's great. But learn a little bit about what that one owner did with that car.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Let me ask this about the dealer thing. Do you think that dealers should share any responsibility now? Like, obviously things are just coming in and out of their inventory, but like, should I, like, if this whole back wall was my wall at a comic show, should I know the graders notes for all my books? Should I know how I got them and where they came from?
Well, it's all depending on how fast they move, but they should, especially when it comes to the bigger books, right? When it comes to the 1,000 up books, they should damn know what they're selling, right? Because it's also their name on the line, too. Because if I sell you a bogus book, and it's because I got it from some other collection and I didn't do my homework as a seller, guess what? I'm not going to go to that car dealership anymore. Right. I'm going to go to another one, right? You do it all the time when you're searching for a car. You say, don't buy from those guys. They give you nothing but lemons. It's the same thing when it comes to dealers. When you go to a dealer, you know who to trust. And if they don't know their product, then they're not good dealers. I'm sorry. Right. They should know their product. Yes, there's going to be things that are going to be going back and forth. Like they bought it yesterday to sell it today. I get that. That happens. But when you were talking about books that have equity, that they're investment, that, you're buying a house, you need to know what you're going to get yourself into before you get into it. Because I'm going to come back and, for every good sale, there's 9 other people complaining. You know what I mean? That kind of whole mindset. We're going to complain about that one bad occasion that we had, and we're going to tell the world about it. And we're going to go to our socials. We're going to go to Instagram. We're going to go to Facebook. We're going to go to Twitter X, whatever you want to call it these days. And we're going to say, hey, don't buy from that guy. And you see it all the time. And then they suffer as a result for not doing what they have to do as dealers. So I do believe they should know what they're selling. They should know their product. They should know where they got their product. And more importantly, when someone asks them questions, they should be able to answer it. They don't need to have an eidetic memory about it. Maybe have information written down about it. That's the smart way to go about it. Excel charts, we have them all over the place. You should know what you have. You should know what you're selling. You should know why it's important and everything like that. And that's how dealers should be today. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're really selling those big books. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Izzy, what do you got going on for 2024? You know, any special plans for the new year for you?
Yeah. So we got 3 hours left over here in New York. So we're about to go. We're gonna go with family, do our thing over there, and then tomorrow. It's funny you say that. Tomorrow I got a 2,000 subscriber giveaway show starting at 6 o'clock Eastern. Yeah. So
wait, are you at 2,000 subscribers yet, or are you?
So we hit the 2,000 subscriber. We hit it about 2 weeks ago. Thank you so much. And now as a result, I'm giving away some stuff that we're talking about. Not this Dazzler book. I'm sorry, that's not going on. But I do have a lot of stuff that's going to be part of that giveaway tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. So when I saw you throwing this, I was like, I gotta stop by and say what's up to Swag.
Well, you heard it. Everyone in the chat, go over there, go sub up to Izzy's YouTube, pretend like you've been a day with him, get the free prize, and then you can help him on his way to the 3K giveaway.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm an artist as well. You're a writer, so there's a lot of stuff going on there, and the whole concept here is really about giving back to the community, because I've been part of the community since '87, since I was 11. You know what I mean? Right. So if you do the numbers, you know how old I am from there. But I got involved in the whole slabbing business just this year, because I wasn't a slabbing type. I have my books. All my books are raw, and now I'm sending my big boy books to get slabbed. So, but when you do this stuff for as long as I have been doing it, as a collector, as an artist who has some published work, I think you and I have about the same amount of published work, to be completely honest. But we've been doing this, and been going to shows all the time. Over here in the East Coast, there's so many shows to go to. And you get to talk to people, you get to know people, they become your friends. Yeah. And the reality of it is that you really need to understand the nature of the business before you just really talk about the business. So yeah, it's gonna be a blast. We're having a blast over in my end. So it is definitely fun. So Swag, it was just great just hanging out here for a minute, man.
Yeah. Alex Guy 89 with the free feet pick would like to know what your YouTube channel is. So maybe
it's really simple. It's Izzyverse NYC, just as it's written right there in that screen, right down there, right here. That's where it is. Just exactly that. It's also on Instagram. You just look for my face. You'll find my face. It's the guy smiling. That's all it is, man.
All right. Well, Izzy, congratulations on 2K. Thanks for hopping in. Great thoughts. And we'll see you at the next one. Happy New Year.
You too, Swag. I'll see you then, man. See you when you come over here in the East Coast. I'll head out over there sooner or later.
All right. Later. Well, folks, that was it. That was the show. That was Collector Call-In Stream. I think it went really well. I think it was a successful stream. Okay. I came in with a little bit of nerves, thinking like, oh man, this might absolutely crash, or this might be wonderful to hear from the different voices in the community. And I think it was the latter. I think it's really awesome to get to hear other people's perspectives. I'm tired of listening to myself talk. You guys think like, oh, I just do like one video, but it's like, yeah, I got to edit. I have to listen to my own voice. It's terrible. So it's good to just, let everyone else do the work. Brilliant minds out there. So many smart people in this hobby with great thoughts and perspectives. So it's great to give other people a chance to, yell at the cloud, because I'm, I can only yell at the cloud so many times by myself. So it's good to get everyone else's perspective in there. Thanks to everyone for hanging out in the chat tonight. There's a lot of great questions and conversations. It was a wonderful 2023, an incredible comic book year. I think 2024 is going to be even better. I'm sure that there's not going to be any crazy drama that happens in 2024, because, comic books never have drama. So it'll be another year full of dramaless hobby. But no, in all seriousness, great year, guys. 2023, man, wrapping it up here. Can't believe time flies. It's been crazy. We're going into 2024 now. We are 3 years removed from the comic book boom. You know what's interesting about this? So I think that the turnover in comic collecting is like 3 to 4 years. I think people give like a good 3 or 4 years of like in the hobby hard, and then you get the churn. And like, I'm hearing a lot of people, like, they'll come up to me, you know, like I was at LA Comic Con, and I'll get some people come up to me and be like, oh, Swag, you know, I like your YouTube. It's really, really cool. I just got back into comic collecting 2 months ago. And to me, it's like, 2 months ago? That's crazy. Cause to me, I just think like, you didn't get back into comic collecting during COVID when everyone got back into it. I say all that to say this. I think we're going into 2024. Like there's a lot of people that like, they don't remember this 2021 boom anymore. You know, like they're coming in being like, oh, it's a good time for comics. Like, hey, it's a great year. I'm going to buy this stuff, you know? And so they don't have this like memory of books being of certain values. So to them, like, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'll buy this comic and that's great. Oh, it seems like it's being sold at discount, you know, like that's their perspective on this stuff. Where everyone else's perspective is like, oh my God, I can't believe how much this book has crashed. So it's very, very interesting. A lot of crazy stuff going into next year, but I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a really, really fun year. It'll be a fun time for comic books. We'll be doing more comic book content. We'll be coming out with comic books. My comic books. And I just want to say thanks to everyone for, you know, subbing to the channel, supporting, hanging out in the chat. It's been awesome. It's great to meet everybody. Thank you to everyone who jumped on the channel tonight to do the call-in show. Hopefully we can have more call-in shows. You know, let me know what you guys thought about this format. I think it's actually really good. I don't know if you could do it like all the time, because I think it's very rare that there's a CGC topic like this where there's a lot of people that have a lot of thoughts to put out. But maybe every once in a while, you know, we can have a call-in show if there's some interesting topics going on in the hobby and hear everyone's perspective. So we'll try it out. It'll be a 2024 thing to do. All right, folks, I'm going to go out. I'm going to have a good time. Be safe out there. Don't drink and drive. And I wish you all a happy, happy new year. And we'll see you all in the next stream. Peace out, guys.